This is what my first straight line looked like. I was going slowly, I was concentrating, and somehow my seam still looked like it was trying to run away from me. And if yours does look like this too, I want you to know something right away. You're not failing at sewing. There's one beginner mistake causing most wobbly seams, and once you fix it, sewing straight suddenly gets so much easier. When I first started sewing, I thought straight lines were all about moving slowly, but I was actually doing two small things wrong that nobody had explained to me, and once I fixed them, everything changed. Today, I'm going to walk you through the sewing habits experienced sewists use every single time they sit at the machine. How to lock your stitches with a backstitch, how to avoid thread tangles, how to guide fabric smoothly, and how to turn clean corners. And if you've already threaded your machine from our earlier lessons, you're officially ready to sew something. Let's do it! Before we talk about straight lines or corners, I want to show you one of the most important sewing habits you'll ever learn, the backstitch. Every seam needs to be locked at the beginning and the end. Otherwise, even perfectly straight lines can slowly unravel over time. The way we lock a seam is with a backstitch, and thankfully, it's very simple. Here's the basic rule: 3 stitches forward, 3 stitches back, then continue sewing forward normally. When you begin sewing, take a few stitches forward, then press and hold your reverse lever and sew backward directly over those stitches. Release the lever and continue sewing forward. That overlap creates a secure lock at the beginning of your seam. You'll do the exact same thing when you're finished sewing. A few stitches back, then forward again to lock everything in place. And once this becomes a habit, you'll never have to even think about it anymore. That locks your seam securely. But there's one more thing you need to do before your very first stitch, and most beginners skip it completely. Okay, this tip alone can save you so much frustration. You know that moment when you start sewing and suddenly the underside of your fabric turns into a tangled mess of thread? That's called a thread nest. And the good news is, it's usually very easy to prevent. Before you start sewing, look at your machine threads. You'll have one tail coming from the needle thread and one from the bobbin. Pull both thread tails gently back and to the left. Now begin sewing, and keep holding those tails lightly for just a few stitches. That tiny step keeps the thread from getting pulled down into the bobbin area, which is what causes most thread nests in the first place. It seems small, but it makes a huge difference, and combined with your backstitch, you're already building clean, secure sewing habits from the very beginning. Now, before we practice on fabric again, I want to show you one simple exercise that makes sewing feel dramatically easy, and it uses absolutely no thread. This is one of my favorite beginner sewing exercises because there's zero pressure. Grab a piece of lined notebook paper, unthread your needle, and remove the thread completely, and place the paper under the presser foot with one of the printed lines lined up in front of the needle. Lower your presser foot and slowly sew directly along that line. What you'll notice pretty quickly is that the machine is already feeding the paper forward for you. The feed dogs underneath are doing the hard work. Your job is simply to guide it. Gentle fingertip pressure on either side, no pushing, no pulling, and this is usually the moment beginners realize something important. The machine actually wants to help you. Try following a few different lines, then intentionally drift off one and gently guide yourself back. The correction movement is actually part of the learning process. This is how muscle memory starts developing. Your hands begin learning what smooth control feels like before the fabric is even involved. Take a minute and try a few passes. I'll be right here when you come back. Alright, now let's move to real fabric. For your first practice piece, quilting cotton is perfect because it feeds smoothly and stays stable while you sew. Thread your machine just like we practiced in episode 2. Place your fabric under the presser foot, pull both thread tails gently back and to the left, and hold them for your first few stitches. Then backstitch your start. A few stitches forward, a few stitches back, and continue sewing normally. Now here's the biggest thing I want you to remember from today's lesson. The machine is the engine and you're just steering the wheel. The feed dogs are already moving the fabric forward evenly. If you push or pull the fabric yourself, you're actually fighting against the machine, and that's one of the biggest causes of uneven stitches. So instead of pushing, simply guide. Hands relax on either side of the presser foot. Gentle adjustments left or right. That's it. Sew a few inches and stop to look at your stitches. If they're straight and even, amazing. And if they wobble a little, that's completely normal. The goal today is not perfection, it's learning control. Once you feel comfortable sewing a straight line, there's one more technique I want to show you. And it's the skill that makes sewing start feeling really satisfying. Now we're going to turn a corner. Sew until you're close to the edge of your fabric, then stop with your needle still down into the fabric. The needle becomes your anchor point. Lift your presser foot while leaving the needle in place. Now rotate the fabric 90 degrees so that your next sewing line is facing forward. Lower the presser foot again and continue sewing. That's it. That simple movement creates crisp, clean corners without your fabric shifting out of place. And once you learn it, you'll use this technique constantly. Quick tip. Some sewing machines have a needle down setting that automatically leaves a needle in the fabric whenever you stop sewing. If your machine has that feature, that is a great time to try it out. Now put everything together, straight lines, backstitching, clean starts, and pivots. Sew a full practice square with 4 sides and 4 corners. This little square is proof that you're officially building real sewing skills. Before we finish, I want to give you a little preview of what's coming next. In Lesson 5, we're finally making a real beginner project together, and all the skills you practiced today, the backstitch, guiding fabric, turning corners, are going to come together in something you can actually use. I seriously cannot wait for that lesson. Look at what you just made. Straight lines, clean corners, locked seam that won't unravel. That is real progress. And the habits you practiced today, backstitching, guiding instead of pushing, holding your thread tails, are habits experienced sewists still use every single day. So if your sewing felt a little awkward today, that's okay. You're learning skills. Take practice and you're already improving. And if this lesson helped you, subscribe so that you can keep building these skills with me one step at a time. Thank you so much for sewing with me today. I'll see you in the next lesson.